was going to jump on here a few minutes and then
Chris Cowlin. Fan cams. Club news. Transfer news. Match previews. Legend interviews. Spurs winning. Press conferences. Covering everything Tottenham and England.
Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. In this edition, we'll be previewing the big game on Sunday. Tottenham Hotspur, of course, host our North London rivals, our unwanted neighbours, Arsenal. 2 p.m. kick-off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The game will be live on Sky Sports. Now, I'm absolutely delighted to bring back, I should probably call you channel regular now, Kenny. Ken, Arsenal fan. Ken, how are you?
I'm really happy with being in show. I watch it a lot. I've seen Gary's meltdowns. I've seen you film from all like parts of the world, including your car. So I'm really looking forward to it. But you know, it's funny how you say that Arsenal fans are not welcome. Well, you know, I mean, on the 14th of May, there were some Arsenal fans who committed Sol Campbell-like treachery by wanting Spurs to beat Man City. I mean, that's the greatest act of treachery. I mean, you know, I always thought that, you know, that we were separate, but it was like North London for United, and that made me just want to gag. Sorry, nothing personal. You should never, ever support Tottenham in any capacity whatsoever. There were some Arsenal fans who had watch-alongs with the Tottenham emblem, the white and blue on. And I mean, you're an Arsenal fan, and you sold out like that. Some Arsenal fans were upset with the song because he missed against Man City. I mean, come on, stop this treachery. I mean, I have to put up with that, you know, wretched song, North London Forever, whatever the weather. But that is much worse. I mean,
can you sing it for us?
Let's do it. Yeah, North London Forever.
I was joking.
That song is putrid. One of the worst songs ever. We're Arsenal, and we're trying to be Liverpool. I mean, some Arsenal fans are saying we're not Liverpool, not Liverpool. Well, don't sing that rubbish then. I mean, you don't talk about Finchley Park. You don't talk about any other part of Islington. You talk about Angel and about drug taking. That's not North London. That's not Arsenal. Come on, away with that song. How about good old Arsenal?
I can't believe 90 seconds into the podcast you mentioned that person's name on this podcast. You're normally so respectful on this podcast, Kenny, and you mentioned his name 90 seconds in.
I'm sorry about it. I'm really, really sorry because I do understand where you're coming from. Because let's get it right. If Sol Campbell did that to Arsenal, and you would have
done it again.
Oh, sorry. I'm really apologise. Sorry, guys on the panel. If he'd done that, whoever he is, I would never forgive myself. But it's funny you should talk about that man because right now he wants a knighthood. I mean, he don't say much. But what he says is memorable.
I wasn't talking about him, and I don't want to talk about him. We're here to talk about the North London derby. We don't need to talk about that man anymore. Joining us also for a couple of minutes because Gary, we've just finished a stream on Premier League predictions, but Gary is a huge fan of Kenny's, and he wanted to come on here and say hello and ask Kenny a couple of questions. Gary, great to have you here again. What do you want to ask Kenny about the North London derby coming up on Sunday?
well, before I ask him a few questions about North London derby, I have to say it's, you know, I do have a few Arsenal friends, not many. I'm very selective, but I will say Kenny is like a breath of fresh air. If only there was more Arsenal fans like Kenny, I probably wouldn't hate the fan base as much, because you're not going to get a more down-to-earth, more realist fan than Kenny. He says it how it is, and that's what I love about him. And also, while I'm on the subject, Kenny, because we've been following each other a while on Instagram, I absolutely love his running commentary. When he does this thing when he'll watch the games on Sky, he'll go back to the games, and when there's like stupid VAR decisions, whatever, Kenny does it in his Kenny Cockney accent, which I absolutely love. And I think to myself, they should have Kenny on Sky. I don't know why they got Carragher. Kenny, you would be perfect, mate, in Stockley Park doing VAR. But no, Chris, when you said Kenny was on, I said, look, let me jump on for a few minutes. just so I can see him face to face, ask him a few questions. But a couple of quick fire questions, Ken, and then I'll let you chat away with Chris. But first off, are you going Sunday?
I am. Can't wait. It's the most stressful game, of the season. I like going to both games, but Tottenham away has to be the best day ever. Win, lose or draw, because you think about it, you get up, you're stressed. You're really stressed, you're excited. You can't wait to get there. You get down to 3 o'clock, you go in the pins with your friends, and you get on that tube to Seven Sisters. And as soon as you get to Seven Sisters, you get at the top of the tube station, you walk that 20-minute walk, and you love it. One thing I love about it, I'll tell you one thing, I feel like I'm putting on weight when I come down the high road. You've got so much around there. You've got West Indian food, jerk chicken, you've got food, you've got Polish food, you've got Indian food, you've got Chinese. I mean, bloody hell.
Yeah,
you got talking about it.
I mean, Kenny, me and Chris are too posh for that. We've got drivers, so we don't really get public transport.
Oh, fair enough. Well,
Kenny, you don't need to eat it all.
Tottenham fans, they're just too well off.
I don't eat it at all. It's just the smell of it. Since I've been a kid, I've just before, obviously when you're youngster, you get like, if you didn't have money for the tube, you got the 279 or 259 from Finchley Park.
Yeah.
Love it. Get out at least a mile away. Get out of Bruce Grove, walk down, you feel the atmosphere. I love the tension. I love the fact that your fans hate us. I like the fact that
it's the game of the season, isn't it, Ken? You're probably like me. When the fixtures come out, the first game you look at is the Tottenham home and away, isn't it? You look at that first.
Hold on. I want to know whether Kenny's gone into Chick King for some super chicken now. You've had chicken in Chick King?
I'm going to try it because I'm going to try because, like I said, I'm so nervous, so stressed out. You can't even eat. I don't drink alcohol. I'm a teetotal, but I always have a 2-litre bottle of water. And every time I come near the ground, the lovely policemen always say, "Sup it up and throw it away. There's no way you take it in." What do they think I'm going to do? Well, Pete, I'm a Christian, but let me tell you something now. This weekend is a must-win game for both sides. Just as much Arsenal, just as much Spurs. I think in terms of Tottenham, I still think there's an undercurrent of feeling and a bit of a complaints towards your manager. There's complaints about certain players. In terms of Arsenal, as much as we're depleted, we're now in a situation now where we've got to be immaculate for the rest of the season because City are going back to the level they were when they won the league in 2018 and 2019. Yeah. They're a much better side. I think the City sides that won the league in the last 2 seasons are not a patch on the sides that won in 2018 and 2019.
Yeah.
So they're not going to take their foot on the gas. So we've got to be immaculate. That's why we can't.
Can you talk about the players out? Where do you stand with Odegaard and Rice? Do you think because I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans this week have been saying, Tottenham are probably going to win this game because we've got Rice and Odegaard out, and where are you with that?
I think Arsenal fans need to stop making excuses. This, as far as I'm concerned, it's no excuse FC.
What did I say?
You've got players out as well. You've got players out as well. Van der Ven's been out. You don't know who's going to start. You've got your record. One of your big signing from Bournemouth, Solanke, he's out, so you don't know what's going to happen. Ben's causing a bit of trouble with the FA. You've got turmoil as well. So it happens to every football club. Injuries happen. Odegaard out for 10 games. Boo-hoo. Let's get on with it. I'm not accepting any excuses this Sunday. I couldn't care who's out and who's in. The fact is, we've still got a good enough team. We've gone to your ground the last 2 seasons. We've won. It's been hard, but we've done it. We've won. So I expect that. I don't want to hear excuses if we lose on Sunday. I don't want to hear it. If we lose, it's because our players weren't doing their jobs properly. If we lose, it's because you played better. I don't want to hear about Odegaard. He was out last season for about 5 or 6 games with a head injury. Yeah. We got on with it.
I think the first goal will be crucial. My score prediction was Tottenham 2, Arsenal 1, but it will go either way, and it will be a 2-1 game. I think. I really genuinely think it will be. I don't think it's going to be like last season where you went 3 up and we sort of scraped it back to 3-2. I don't think it'll be like the season before when we went all out and won it 3-0. I think it's going to be a lot tighter. There won't be much.
Depends on your manager, because the thing is that the reasons why we won last season are still there. It wasn't a case of us playing well. It was us being allowed to play well. You still got the same things that a normal football fan wouldn't like. You still play with inverted full-backs who invert at the same time. All you got to do is hit the wings. Hit the wings. The full-backs don't even have to invert. They just have to support the inverted wingers, and that's game over. Or in your set pieces, you're still vulnerable with set pieces. But what I think that where Ange Ball is flawed is the fact is that the high energy game, the way you play and the way you dominate games in the first half, you've got to be a 2 or 3 up, because in the second half, when teams work you out and teams get that extra bit of energy, and you basically used up all your energy. That's where it happened. I was with Chris 2 weeks ago when we previewed the Newcastle game, and everything I said to Chris about how you're gonna lose that game against Newcastle. Everything happened. Inverted wingers, overexertion in terms of your way you play. Newcastle playing a simple pass through the lines. Boom. They took you out of the game. You played well.
I think like I said to Chris, it could be a carbon copy of the Leicester and the Newcastle game if we don't take our chances. Because the sort of games when we play like Man City and we play Liverpool and we play Arsenal, it suits us. It's an open game. It's high end. It's back and forth. There's going to be lots and lots of chances for both teams. But it boils down to whether Johnson can get the ball in the net, Son if he's on form or not, and Solanke if he's playing. And if he is playing, is he 100%? It's those little fine margins. But I do think we'll have more than enough chances to score and go on and win the game. It just ultimately boils down to whether Tottenham takes it, and our defence is a whole different ball game with our defence, I mean, every time, opposing team gets a corner or set piece against Tottenham, it's literally quiet in the grounds, Kenny, because we're that nervous. A corner or a set piece against Tottenham is like a penalty against Arsenal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. But the thing is that one thing, if you've noticed, if you watch this season, teams have worked us out in set pieces. Yeah. Referees kind of worked us out. Like Benjamin White can't do his little bit of skullduggery with the goalkeepers. Referees onto him, bang onto him. In terms of the runs that Saliba and Gabriel will make, all you've got to do is just block the run. Maybe even just do the slight, the shirt pull. There's a shirt pull like this, or the shirt pull where you do that and let go. The referee doesn't see it. You're on the floor. The ball comes in, you clear the ball, and that's what a lot of teams have been doing. Brighton did that to great success against us 2 weeks ago. Wolves did it as well, and Villa did it. So, in terms of set pieces, they've worked us out. But will you do it? Are you going to play in our hands? Because if you play like you've been playing against Newcastle and Leicester, despite the fact we haven't got our arguably first choice midfield, we still got Saka. Yeah. Sterling could come in. He's going to love all that space on the down the wings. If you're both your fullbacks invert, so we're still going to sort of benefit from that.
Chris, how much love is Kenny getting in the comments, mate? People love Kenny, innit? I did tell you, Arsenal fans, by far, he's the best Arsenal fan, isn't he?
Well, if the game is anything like the start of the game on Sunday is anything like the start of this podcast, then we should have a lot of passion and fighting spirit.
It's a North London derby, and I think what you got a lot of young fans who don't support their local clubs. So there's some young Arsenal fans. They try to say that it doesn't matter. That there's a rivalry Spurs. Oh, you've got to support you've got to support Tottenham when they play Man City. It's more important that we win the league than support Tottenham. They don't get it, or they'll say, "Oh, I hate Man United and Chelsea more than Tottenham." And I'm thinking, Angela, why is that? And they'll tell me about their childhood, and they'll say the school bully was a Man United fan, so that's why we got a rival with Man United. And I say to them, it's not about you. No. It's not about what happened at Christ the King and then Tottenham Park, or what happened at D&K and Malmsey. This is about Arsenal and Tottenham.
This North London derby, Ken, Tottenham and Arsenal, I said to Chris earlier on the predictions, this is the biggest game there is. This is bigger than Liverpool, Man United, bigger than Chelsea, Arsenal, bigger than Tottenham, Chelsea. This is massive. Yes. You know what I mean? This is the one that builds up all week and everything,
You two have been like best friends on this podcast. I tell you, even before we...
because Eddie's so on a level when it comes to Arsenal, I get it. I like that. Do you know what I mean? He is, and he says how it is. And I've messaged Kenny before after we've lost and when we've won, and he's straight down the line.
Even before we went live, Gary, Kenny was saying to you how great you are on the podcast. Now you're saying, "Oh, you're such a wonderful Arsenal fan."
Hey,
I'm not used to this on these podcasts.
Chris, I'll tell you what we'd do. If you want, the next time we do this, that's if I'm invited. Why don't we just do what other channels do? Let's have a chicken shop day.
Yeah.
A bit of chicken. Have a chicken shop day and just talk about have a Spurs Arsenal rivalry about which chicken is spicier, the plain one or the spicy one.
All right.
I mean,
right.
Tottenham don't win much, but they definitely will win for the best chicken because Kenny, in fact, I've been going to Tottenham since I was a kid, but I only went in chicken. That was with you, Chris, the time we done the go-karting.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd ever gone into chicken, only because the queues are just so mad before and after a game, and a lot of the time when you come out of Tottenham, you've lost the game. The last thing you want to do is queue up for 25 minutes for some chicken.
Guys,
you just want to go.
Guys, how many Arsenal fans are going to walk the gauntlet and actually go in that chicken shop and enjoy the samples when, like, the rule of thumb is get there to the ground in one piece, come out in one piece. If you win, pray that all the Spurs fans have gone home. If you draw, it's like a pray that they all gone home. If you lose,
they're just running in, getting the chicken and legging it out like supermarkets.
No. I'll tell you one thing. You need your strength, mate. You need all to use. Don't use up all your cardio strength because you need to be able to get in there, get out of there, and make sure you get back to Finsbury Park in one piece.
Yeah,
Kenny, when you go to and from the stadium, do you get stopped many times by Spurs fans?
No. It's one of those things where you don't want to. At the end of the day, not all Spurs fans love me, and I'm worried about the Spurs fans who don't love me. So it's all about.
Is it a cap on?
Cap hoodie with basically one of those ski mask, hoodie ski mask. Basically basically tracksuit bottoms are bigger that fit 3 people, and then walk in there, walk out. Come in there, enjoy yourself.
Because Kenny, bizarrely, this has just reminded me of Chris. I've never told you a story, Chris. I'll be really quick with this. But when he said about that, it reminded me once. I went to a Tottenham Arsenal game many, many years ago. I was only young. I think it was like 17 or 18. And we won. We beat Arsenal on that particular day. I know that doesn't happen very often, but we did. And I was drinking and stuff like that. And I ended up walking right into the Arsenal Highbury area. And I had a Spurs shirt on. And I saw like half a dozen Arsenal fans. And I was only young. I didn't have a lot of money. But you know what I've done? I flagged down a black taxi. And the cabbie... this is a true story, right? The taxi driver stopped. He opened the taxi up and I got in and he goes, "You a little bit lost, lad, are you?" I said, "Yeah." Now, bearing in mind, at the time I lived in Willesden and I wasn't even 18. I had hardly any money and I had to get a black taxi from Highbury all the way home. I mean, I can't remember how much it was. I think even back then, I'm going back 30 odd years. I think it was still like 20, 25 pounds. It was a lot of money. I remember that.
Well, I think it will cost you a bit more because he's trying to get you out of it and stuff.
Yeah, but do you know what? It was worth every penny because isn't that far a walk from Tottenham into Arsenal? Is it? You can do it quite quick.
You can. But the thing is, that's what this game is all about. It's the beauty of it. Yeah, obviously, there's a bit of an edge because of the fact that there is rivalry and some people won't let go. But the beauty of the whole thing is that 90 minutes is the most important 90 minutes of both our fan bases this season. It's all about
hostility. It's brilliant, but it's what makes the North London derby, doesn't it?
I actually prefer an away game at your ground. The reason why I prefer away game at your ground is the anticipation. It's the fact that you get up, you can't wait, it's the fact that you're walking down. You're making.
But that's a hardcore Arsenal fan, Chris. It's old school because a lot of the new fans and that would much rather just go to the Emirates, wouldn't they? Don't you think?
Yeah, of course they would. But I think the thing is right is that the most enjoyable thing is when you win there because if you beat Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where we've had a really bad record, we know that we've played well. We know that we've earned it because it's still a hard game. Last season, even though we went 3-0 up, it was a really hard game. The second half, where you just pammeled us, we were relieved when the final whistle went. We were relieved.
No, I knew that because I was there, And the Arsenal fans for a lot of that second half were quiet. And then once that final whistle went, then all the abuse come out. Tottenham get battered everywhere they go, and all the songs were being sung.
But if you look at it, when you talk about that game and how well you played, it was self-inflicted wounds. It was self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Saka's goals are self-inflicted wounds.
He was out on the right, all on his own. No one picked him up.
Yeah, and that's where if I was a neutral and I was like, say, someone who loved the football and hated bad play, I'll be looking at Ainge and I'll say, why is the guy so stubborn? Why is it his way or the highway? When sometimes when you play against really good teams, sometimes you've got to make sacrifices. Sometimes you've got to accept being without the ball, and sometimes you've got to accept that you've got to basically stop your runners, and sometimes make yourself difficult to beat, even at home. Because you think about it, if you play like this, the fact that you want a trophy, you want to trophy, Chris, I don't think you can win trophies, especially in a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
Where teams are going to be compact. You're trying to play to the crowd, play your beautiful game, but you're leaving gaps. I don't get it. It's self-harming. The way you play is self-harming for me. I think it's self-harming.
Yeah. Just quickly, Chris, I've got people in the comments here, which I just find so funny, right? I've got one person here saying, Gary, you should change your name to Gary the Positive Soul. I don't think I was very positive on the last few streams, was I, Chris? I think it's funny. In order for me to be really positive, smiling, happy, you'll get an Arsenal fan on it. A gooner.
Do you know what? I like this comment from Chris S. Is this the Kenny and Gary show with Chris the guest?
Hey,
Chris,
I don't know, mate. Chris, I don't know, Chris. I think
we're 20 minutes in and I've not had a word in yet.
No. I said I was only staying up for 5 minutes.
You need to control your guests better, Chris.
I do. I tell you, Kenny, it's been a long week.
Yeah, you've been busy. You've been
Gary,
every night.
Have you got any more questions for Kenny before we get to the serious stuff?
Go, all right. No, listen, look, I just want to say, I'm not going to wish you luck on Sunday.
No.
But I hope you get to the ground safely. I hope you enjoy the goals that Arsenal score, because I do think you'll get one. I hope you can try and enjoy the 2 that Tottenham get. And I hope you get back home safely. And I will message you before and after the game. But all the best, Kenny, yeah?
All the best. And I hope you have a good time as well. It's still a great it's a great game, but
it is.
I just hope that you have the same journey home as you had the last two games in April this year and January 2023. And you know what? The good thing about this game, we got injuries and we didn't try to postpone the match. We're actually going to turn up this time, because 2 years ago, when a few players had a few colds,
I wasn't going to mention that, but again, Kenny mentioned it.
Do you know what this sounds like? Oh, North London derby friends.
North London friends.
You've been watching too much in between us.
Chelsea. Because Arsenal and Chelsea are best of buddies and sing "We Hate Tottenham." We're like kind of doing a little bit of that, ain't we?
Wow.
It'll all go out the window Sunday when we get a dog that gets disallowed in VAR decisions. We'll be going mental.
Hey, only bad teams blame the referee, mate.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Yeah, bad workman blames his tools. Listen, Chris, thank you so much for letting me jump on this one quick and say hello to Ken and stuff. Ken, legend as always. I'll keep up with you on Instagram. And yeah, I might even bump into you on Sunday. If I do, I'm going to go, this is Kenny the Gooner. No, I won't really.
He will. He will. Thank you, Gary. Speak to you soon.
I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Welcome back to the Spurs Chat podcast. Kenny, let's start by simply asking you, how are you feeling as an Arsenal fan right now? Because, of course, as you mentioned earlier today, that Mikel Arteta has just signed a new contract at the club. Now, your 3 results in the Premier League so far, a win at home against Wolves, a great win away at Villa Park against Emery's Aston Villa, and then most recently a 1-1 draw at the Emirates against Brighton. How would you assess those 3 games? Because, of course, an amazing stat, only dropped points in 3 Premier League games in the calendar year of 2024. That is an incredible record.
It's been a very good record, but it's been catch up really, because you think about it. At the start of the calendar year, we were 5 points behind Liverpool, where a defeat in any of our games after Christmas would make us 8 points behind Liverpool and a few behind Man City. So it was a case where we resurrected our championship charge by just winning games and playing a different style of play. Obviously, relying a lot on set pieces, but using our wingers and really playing, robust attacking football. So it's a very good stat. But the problem is, we're playing catch up. At the end of the day, there was no margin for error. The margin for error was Aston Villa. And that's where a lot of Arsenal fans, like myself, do feel griefed. Because if you look at the situation, Man City had an identical record to us before we played them at the Etihad Stadium. They were 2 points behind us. And even after we got that draw, obviously we discussed this. You thought that Arsenal missed the boat, that they really, really, really should have gone for the game. But even though we got that draw, we were, basically levels above them in terms of goal difference. So if we won every game, we won the league. So despite the fact that we had that fantastic record, a defeat against Aston Villa, let Man City through the back door, and then Man City's goal difference improved. So at the end of the day, we didn't achieve anything despite that really good record. You look at this season, the Wolves game, it wasn't the greatest game, but we've done enough to win. Had 2 bits of quality from Saka, the assist for Havertz, and then Saka scoring that fantastic goal. And Aston Villa was a really hard game where it was basically 2 teams that respected each other, in my opinion, way too much. But when Aston Villa tried to win the game, they were making sort of like positive attacks, but they left the back door open and we were able to get bodies on. We had, our goal scorer on the bench in Trossard, and then, after that, when Villa chased the game, we got a very good go for Partey, but everyone's going to remember those 2 misses from Watkins. So maybe we did ride our luck. The Brighton game, where I was with you, I thought we'd win comfortably because I thought that Brighton were very fortunate to beat Man United. But Brighton came with a different game plan. Brighton basically played a very robust game. They got in our faces. They played a referee. They basically sat on top of Odegaard, put on some really robust challenges on Odegaard. The referee gave us nothing. And that's going to be the theme for the rest of the season. Referees are not onto us now. We've got divers in our team. The Gabriels, all 3 of them are divers. Saka's a diver. Declan Rice is, likes the odd dive here and there. I'm just being honest. That's why you have me. I'll say as it is. Odegaard, most referees want protection. It's not happening. So Arsenal fans need to get used to the fact that referees can give us nothing. They already sussed us out. They know what Benjamin White's up to in terms of set pieces, so they're going to be watching him. I think another thing Brighton did is that they managed to blunt our set pieces. So if you look at it, they played really well, deserved a draw. But after we got Declan Rice sent off, and it was a sending off, no word of a lie, it happened right in front of me. I saw it with my own eyes. Declan Rice nudged the ball away. If you don't go 10 yards when it's a free kick, it's a sending off. You can't. Doesn't matter whether you didn't mean to do it or you only tapped it. Just get 10 yards. You already booked. The referee was already, booked. And then he dives. And then when he dives, the referee is alert to the situation. So if the referee's going to have to deal with Veltman, he's got to deal with Declan Rice for the first offence. If Declan Rice doesn't go down holding his leg, and doing a dying swan act, I don't think the referee does nothing. He just gives them both a ticking off. But when he tries to get the player sent off, what would you do as a referee? The first thing you would do is go and deal with Veltman, and then you'll find out how the incident occurred. Then you've got to deal with Declan Rice. He left the referee no choice. But in saying that, Arteta was very negative when he made the substitution. He took off forward to bring on a defender. When I mentioned earlier today that we've got to be immaculate. There should be no room for error. We've got to win that game. I still think with 10 men, if we were positive and play the attacking football, I think we win that game. We even had the chances to win it, but a couple of misses from Saka and Havertz. Brighton were able to get in the ascendancy. We made mistakes. They won and they scored a good goal, and they could have nicked at the end. So I think this season, if you look at Arsenal, I think it's kind of the how do I say it without making excuses? Euro 2024. we can't. Yeah.
I was going to say, Kenny, do you think that you're going to be closer to Manchester City this season? Because I felt that when you brought Rice in, you'd get closer, but not quite over the line. It turned out to be correct. But do you think, as an Arsenal fan, do you think you're going to get closer? And do you think that Arteta will finally get Arsenal over the line in terms of winning the Premier League? And also, I suppose I could ask at the same time, did you do enough in the transfer market? Because, talking from a Spurs point of view, when we want to be competing on all fronts, I think that a lot of us Spurs fans feel that we didn't do enough in the transfer window. But I suppose a lot of fans, no matter what team you support, they always want more.
Of course I want more. But the fact is that Holy Grail, your Holy Grail after Kane left your football club is a striker. You got one there. You've got a striker that was banging form. How many goals did he score? 38 games, scored 19 goals or 18. Either way, he's put the ball in there. So that way, you play as an orthodox striker. That means Son goes to his best position on the left. So you've got your Holy Grail. You already, spent big in terms of getting in on Doggy, getting in Van der Ven. I don't know what you're thinking of getting Werner, but he does stretch defenses. And then obviously you spent a lot of money on Maddison. You spent a lot of money on Johnson your season before. So as you say, the second season they've got to do better. In terms of Arsenal, our Holy Grail's a striker, but you look at Arteta and you think he's doing a kind of like a domino situation. I'll sort out my goalkeepers, I'll sort out my defence, and I'll sort out midfield, and maybe I'll get to striker. But it's if Arteta really, really wanted a striker, we'd have got one because he went for Sesko. Sesko turned us down to stay at his club at Leipzig. He really wanted Marino. That's why we got him in. He really wanted Calafiori. That's why we got him in. But in terms of like this season, because of the money we spent, in terms of like 200 million plus to buy the players we bought last season, PSR's killed us. It was always about getting players out of the club. But as you well know, we don't have many assets. We have assets that we can sell for 60 million pounds. With Eddie Nketiah, we did well to get 30 million for him. Then you got Smith Rowe, 35 million, and you got Ramsdale, 25 million, and you've got to send Nelson on loan. Now, all those players, with the exception of Smith Rowe, on stupid wages, Eddie Nketiah 100k. He's got 100k and he doesn't score goals. So it's going to be very difficult to get him out of the football club. In terms of like Ramsdale, 120 grand, number 2, it's very difficult to get him out. So it was all about the outgoings. But again, if you've got rid of all those 4 players, you've got Odegaard. There's no understudy for Odegaard. You let, Fabio Vieira go. And I'm not saying he's like world beater, but I think it's cultural neglect if you leave yourself short for Odegaard, who's now got injured. Again, the manager deserves to, I think he's a bit of a pork chop. The reason I call him a pork chop is because the guy got kicked from pillar to post against Brighton. He was injured already. You let him go and play for his country, where he gets injured on the same ankle. That's neglect. That's neglect. Now you're left us short. Now, that's not going to stand us in good stead. But when you're a big club like Arsenal, you have to get on with it. We know we could play in Tottenham. Get on with it. Got Atalanta, got Man City. Get on with it. But the thing about Arteta, you asked the question you were asking, do you think that we could match Man City? It's not a case of where we can match Man City. It's a case of how good Man City are now. I think Man City, from what I've seen in the first 3 games, I know it's early days, I think they're back to levels of the 2018 season and the 2019 season, where that's their best ever teams. None of those teams won a treble, which included the Champions League, but in terms of calibre of player, style of play, and domination and points total, the Man City teams that preceded that are not on that team's level. I think this season, with Haaland, scoring hat-tricks for fun, with them getting back Godogan, with the fact that they've got Savio as well. Doku's doing things, and Grealish is coming out of the fold. I think they're going to be on that level of the 2018, 2019 seasons. If they're on that level, we have to be immaculate. Don't have to worry about injuries. We've got to go to your ground and win. Now, that's not disrespect to you, but that's what we've got to do if we're going to win the league, because this Man City side means business. They mean business. They're not just going for the league. They're going for the Champions League. They want to win the whole lot, and they've got the team to do it.
Kenny, in terms of Raheem Sterling, of course, Arteta knows Sterling extremely well from the Manchester City days. What do you make of that signing? You pleased with that?
Well, the thing with Sterling's situation is a case if he was never our first choice. I think the truest thing that Edu said, and a lot of what he says is just fairy tales most of the time. But the truest thing he did say is that we weren't in for Sterling. But obviously, with what's happening with Maresca at Chelsea, if a player like that's available, as we mentioned 2 weeks ago, you've got to take a bit of interest. I still think Sterling's a good footballer. I don't know if he's a top player now, but on footballing ability, he's better than Gordon, and he's better than some of the players that we took to the Euros. But because of since that incident at the World Cup, where obviously he had to go home, I don't think he's been the same player for Chelsea. He has a few good starts, and then he drifts in, and I think his confidence was a bit shattered because do you remember the Leicester game, the FA Cup, when Cole Palmer wants to take that free kick, Sterling says, "Let me have it." The free kick went into the Fulham Road.
Yeah,
it went to Fulham's ground. Do you know what I mean? But the reason why we're getting Sterling is because the manager's not happy with Martinelli and Trossard. They're not living up to expectation. We've been trying to replace Martinelli for about 18 months. No word of a lie. Facts, not my opinion. Facts. If we've got Mudryk for £80 million, he starts ahead of Martinelli. You go for Mudryk because you're not happy with the output of Martinelli. You're not happy with the fact that his head's down, doesn't look up, plays like a Colts player. So you're getting Trossard, your second choice, who's got a better football brain than Martinelli, but doesn't have his pace, but ain't a left winger. And when he starts games, he drops the ball. North London derby last season at the Emirates, dropped the ball. So is there any wonder that you get Sterling in? Now, a lot of Arsenal fans are mistakenly thinking that Sterling is going to be a backup for Saka. Well, I think at £325,000 a week, I'm sorry, I'm not paying. You don't pay that money for a backup. You pay for a player who can make us a better team and start games. I expect him to start this game in the North London derby. The fact is that right footers don't play on the right anymore. It's all about inverted wingers. So any Arsenal fan who thinks that Sterling's a backup for Saka, the same Arsenal fans who think that Timber's a left back. He's not a left back. Timber is a right centre back who can play right back. He's only playing because Zinchenko's injured. That's the only reason why he's playing. And now everyone thinks he's like a top player, but you see his last couple of performances, he struggled at left back because he's not a left back.
Kenny, you don't seem very positive about a lot of things right now. And when I read that stat out earlier about only dropping points in 3 games in the Premier League in the calendar year of 2024, what's your main issues? Are you sitting there at the moment thinking, well, we've got to win the Premier League this year? Because giving Arteta a new contract, I think that says a lot, doesn't it?
Of course. And the reason why I say, of course, you look at the money they're paying him. They're saying that he's earning close to what Pep's earning. Now, if Pep's earning £20 million a year at Man City, Pep's won everything. So by paying Arteta that salary in itself, you have to have a return. Also, you have to have a return where you spent he's been given close to about £700 million. Now, if you've got that kind of expenditure that a lot of clubs will kill for, including your club, you've got to have you've got to have trophies. The fact is that the last 2 seasons, we had it in our hands. The Man City sides that everyone says that gargantuan, they're not. This Man City side that last season was fallible, but we couldn't take advantage of it. The Man City sides the season before were fallible, where we were 8 points ahead of them the season before that. They still went and won the league, and they won the treble. They're not on the level of that side in 2018 and 2019. I won't hear any. My footballing, senses and my footballing eyes tells me that Man City have been there for the taking, and we haven't been able to sort of, materials. In fact, in layman's terms, or in North London terms, we bottled it twice, not once, but twice.
Yeah. Kenny, I'm going to show you the team that played Brighton here. Raya, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, White, Rice, Partey, Odegaard, Trossard, Havertz and Saka. Now, of course, we know that Declan Rice is going to be out of the North London derby. We know that Odegaard is out injured. Is it going to be that Thomas Partey and Jorginho come in? Is that what you're thinking? Or do you think that Arteta will make any other changes? How do you think he will set up against Spurs on Sunday?
You've got to play midfielders in the midfield. I know a lot of Arsenal fans are talking about maybe playing Timber in the midfield and playing Zinchenko in the midfield. I think if you look at the way Spurs, I think I'm going to set up. Obviously there's a slight issue with Basuma because he got injured on one of the African nations. African nations duty or World Cup qualifying duty, wherever it is for his country, but you still got Sarr in that midfield. You still got Maddison, and I don't know what the situation with Bentancur, because there are situations where sometimes you do play Basuma and Sarr with Maddison, and sometimes one of Basuma or Sarr would left out, and you put Bentancur in that. In that midfield it's
almost impossible. It's almost impossible, Kenny, to choose the midfield trio because I think it was 29 different combinations last season under Postecoglou because of injuries, suspensions, or off-field issues. So but
in terms of Arsenal, because of the injury to Odegaard and because of the injury to Rice, it kind of picks itself in terms of like the two midfielders. Like you're going to have to play Jorginho. You have to pray that Spurs don't press him out of the game and then make our jobs difficult. Where, you're on a transition. You'll create attacks because that's what Ange Ball's about. Ange Ball is two types of attack. Is either the inspirational way you play, where you kind of like get bodies forward, or you basically pressure teams into mistake high up the pitch. And then your body's forward like you did against us last season. So Jorginho is a bit of a risk, but you've got to play him. The question is now, who do you play instead of Odegaard? Now we've let Vieira go on loan. Obviously now he's injured, so probably that's irrelevant. So it's a situation where you've got to make a decision. Do you take Havertz out of the false number 9 and put him in midfield, which I think we're going to have to do, or do you leave him where he is and try and get someone else in? I personally would have to play Havertz in the midfield three with Jorginho and Partey, and then make a decision on your who you're going to play up top in your front three. Saka's a guarantee. It's who's going to play on the left, who's going to play the false 9. That's Arteta's conundrum. But in terms of the midfield, that's the midfield that we're going to have to play in all our games whilst Odegaard's injured. Obviously, when Rice gets back, it's going to be Rice, Partey, and then the creative midfielder. I don't think Jorginho fits that brief. So you may have to make a decision on whether you play Havertz, or some Arsenal fans saying, do you bring Ranieri in? Again, if they're good enough, you play them. Why not play him in the North London derby? But I don't see the manager doing that. So that my midfield would be the midfield that I just recommended.
We'll talk about score predictions right at the end of the podcast, but how are you feeling about this game?
It's a case of it's a must-win for Arsenal. It's a must-win. Every game is a must-win for Arsenal. But this game is 100% a must-win because of the fact that we bottled the league last season. We bottled the league the season before that. We have to win the league this season. But with Man City playing the kind of football that they've played, and by the way, they've left out all their a lot of their Euro 24 players, so they're able to rest them and play with, Rico Lewis has played a lot more football. Foden ill, and they're trying to fit Golden inside. So they haven't really been playing with what I consider their best team, but they're playing beautiful football. So when they get it together, they're going to be difficult to overcome. So we have to win this game because our next game in the league is Man City away. So if we don't win this game, we're going to fall further behind Man City. And the way Man City started, I don't think they're going to let us back in. That's why we have to win it. You know, I'm not accepting any excuses, and that's not arrogance. It's just necessity. It's Tottenham. You know, I've been to a lot of North London derbies, and I can only speak for myself. I want to win it. I want to win it home and away. When we draw, I'm angry, not because I think, you know, Arsenal got a right to win it. I just want to win. A draw is like the wooden spoon's price. The defeat is just uncontrollable. You know, you don't want to see your friends. You don't want to see your family, let alone your friends who are Tottenham fans. You don't want to see anyone. You just want to go in a dark room, get really depressed because you lost against Tottenham. But in context of what we need for this season in terms of winning the league, it's a must-win.
Do you remember, Kenny, when Spurs were under Nuno Espirito Santo? I was walking out of the Emirates Stadium. You and a couple of the other guys. You and a couple of the other guys were live on YouTube, and then you said, "Chris, come and join us on our podcast." And you've said exactly that. You don't want to talk to anyone. You just want to go home and you want to say nothing. Yeah. And then you shoved this camera in my face and said, "What do you think of the game?"
Chris, I remember it like yesterday because you were quite surprised because what you didn't realise is, but I've been watching your podcast for a long time, and I watched it a lot during lockdown. And the first time I saw it, I went, "Hang on here." I have to say, I'm sure you've been told this a lot. You look a lot like the Poch.
I've had that a lot.
And so when I was watching, I went, "Hang on here, what's the Poch doing in the podcast?" And I actually I like your content. I like your content. You know, obviously when you lost games, I loved it. I loved seeing Gary. I loved seeing Fat Boy from EastEnders. You know, all these other people. I loved even seeing the guy who was in one of the I think he was in one of the films about the Essex boys. You know, a big tall guy with ginger Essex. Jamie. Yeah, I was watching all those shows. I've watched, Craig. I've seen all your shows, and obviously there's other Spurs shows I know Crackers really well as well, because I've done a bit of TV work with him before. But when I saw you, I thought I couldn't resist it. How can I not say hello to you when you lost the North London derby? It would have been, for a start, it would have been neglect. And if I didn't corner you, we wouldn't be doing this now. You wouldn't know who I am. So I had to introduce myself, didn't I?
Kenny, let's talk about Tottenham's season so far. Of course, we've played 3 games as well. Started with a 1-1 draw at the King Power Stadium against Leicester, a good 4-0 win against Everton, who had a lot of injury problems that weekend, and most recently losing 2-1 at St James's Park against Newcastle. What have you made of Tottenham so far? Because even Paul Merson in the last couple of days, I think he was very, very fair, and I agreed with a lot of what he had to say about, Spurs are not in a bad place right now. They're creating a lot of chances. It was just a case of, those 2 away games. We created all these chances, just didn't put the ball in the net enough. Of course, Dominic Solanke has been out injured for us for the last couple of games, which has been a big shame. We fully expect him to be back for this big game on Sunday against you guys, and Van der Ven as well. But what have you made of Spurs this season? What have you made of Spurs under Ange Postecoglou so far?
Well, the thing is that when he first came to the football club, he's like a breath of fresh air, because, he says it how it is. He says it how it is. He's a very ambitious manager. He's a very likable person, very ambitious. He believes that he's the best man for the job, and he believes his brand of football is going to work at Tottenham. So when he first came to the club, I was thinking, hang on, something's happening here. I've never seen your fans so united behind someone, because you think about it, American and Australian managers don't really, sadly, look down upon. But this guy is a top manager. He's got a top pedigree, and I've been following this guy for quite a few years. So I wasn't one of those fans who thought, hang on, the Spurs have got an Australian. Oh yeah, what's all that about? I actually thought, oh dear, he's going to get everyone behind him, and they're going to play some really good football. And I think
didn't you get worried when Spurs appointed Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, because
they're winners? I was because the fact is that you did the right thing. You did the right thing, because if you're a club where you get to the cusp where you were under the Poch. You have to apply, like I said, appoint big names. But the problem I think with you guys is when Mourinho took over, I thought that in hindsight, Spurs were burnt out. I think that in terms of like the great years you had from 2015 up until like 2019, a lot of your players I thought were, I said, mentally and physically not the same they were before. Dele Alli wasn't the same player that he was in his pomp under the Poch. Ericsson wasn't the same player. He was looking itching to go away. There were problems with Danny Rose. He wasn't playing his best football. And then it gets to a situation where you sold Trippier as well. You sold one of you, a top who went. So in that respect, you're breaking up. Lloris is getting a bit older. He was becoming bit fallible in terms of before he was infallible. So that team was on the wane. So in hindsight, your fans expect a lot because of the football you were playing under the Poch, where you were a very good team. You were scary to play against, by the way. You had goals in all over the pitch, even from your centre halves were scoring goals. No one liked playing you. But in hindsight, Mourinho had a rebuilding job to do because it wasn't the same Tottenham, but he went about it the wrong way because you always got the feeling that he was doing you a favour. That's the feeling I got, that he went, I'm just doing this club a favour. They don't win anything. I'm going to highlight their problems but do nothing about it. I'm going to play my brand of football and show the chairman that I need more money because I can't play the football the fans want because we haven't got the players. So, and Conte, I think, was the same thing. I think Conte thought that he deserved a statue because he got you in the top four, but he didn't do anything afterwards. And that's not slagging him off. It's just that the brand of football that they were playing was the type of football you played under Jerry Francis, 30 years ago. And your fans didn't like that football. Jerry Francis was had a direct style of play, which served him well at Queen's Park Rangers. When you come to Spurs, he improved you defensively, he improved you off the ball, but that's not Spurs football. Your football is all about attacking football, push and run.
I do think Antonio Conte done a good job to get Spurs in the top four that season, certainly. Kenny, let me show you this picture. This is Newcastle's second goal. The high line. I know that we've spoken a little bit about this before on previous podcasts, but when you look at this picture, of course, Dragushin was in for the injured Mickey van der Ven. But when I show you this picture and you see this high line,
sorry, up to you. It says, you got two players in your centre halves, no pace, but you're playing at high line. The reason why you're playing at high line is because what you're looking at is you want to win that ball. That's Joe Linton playing that pass, isn't it? So you want
to Murphy,
how Big Ange plays. He wants to win that ball high up that pitch because if he wins that ball on the turnover, he's going to get runners in to at number like Newcastle defence, catch them on the back foot, and that's Ange's ball. That's how you create quite a lot of your attacks. In the early last season, a lot of your goals, especially against teams like Man United, was where you win the ball high up the pitch, risk and reward, and then get your bodies forward. But the problem is, what happens is when you don't win that ball, all those players you're pressing in numbers are leaving gaps. So basically, it's a straight ball. You're playing a high line where you don't have Van der Ven. You've got Romero, and I say it respectfully, brilliant defender, no pace, impetuous, crazy. You've got Dogishin, who basically, there's times where sometimes he's not part of the wide away club. Do you see in the Euros where he thought the ball was going out? And against Holland, do you remember that thing? You remember against Holland when he's playing for Romania where he thought the ball was going out? He let it go out. The Dutch player robbed him, and Holland went and scored a goal. He's still got that mistake in him. So in that respect, you're playing that high line where you've got defenders not only don't have enough space, enough pace, they're also, attackers of ball when they're not marking their men. And then you look at that high line, both your fullbacks are just like that. They're both inverting. That's suicide. That's suicidal. I don't know. Again, when it works, it works. But away from home, you can't play like that. You can't play that. It doesn't matter whether you play well or not.
We play like that at home, and we play like it away. And what I was going to ask you, Kenny, is when you look at that line like that, and you've got players like Saka in your team, and of course we saw the goal that Saka scored at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last year. What you must be rubbing your hands together because
I am because I don't see him changing. He won't change the way he plays.
No.
He feels that's the best way because he feels that when it works, how you meant to play, right, is that everything is done at pace. The reason why he wants he wants to play inverted wingers is because that way he basically has enough attackers in the midfield. But what he's doing is that when you lose the ball, one of your sort of like your holding midfielders has got about 2 or 3 jobs to do. Who's helping him? Who's getting back? If you're going to play that way, your wingers have to be able to, your inverted fullbacks have to get back, but they don't. They don't get back. They don't sprint. So what happens is that it's either going to be one pass or teams are going to hit you on the sort of like the flanks where you've got no bodies in because if both your fullbacks are inverted, what you're going to have to do, they got to sprint to go to the inverted full winger. By the time they get to the inverted winger, all the inverted winger has to do is do 1-2, and then boom, he's at the byline. That is too risky. It works when you win the ball high up the pitch and get your bodies forward. That's fine, but when you're playing like that and you do get those chances, you've got to put them away. Like everyone on Sky Sports was saying that Brennan Johnson was one of your better players, but his final ball. When I was watching it, I was thinking, this kid gets into fantastic positions. He gets in behind the Newcastle defence, uses his pace, but the final ball. But it's not just that his final ball.
Yeah,
it's your forwards not making the right runs. That's what killed you against Leicester, and that's what killed you against Newcastle. When you dominate games, and you're going to have passages of play on Sunday where you are going to get in behind us, you're going to dominate. You're going to have to put the ball in the net. You've got to put those chances away, because once we get our eye in and once we make ourselves difficult to beat, all we're going to do is just sit, watch your fullbacks invert, and all it's going to take is one diagonal ball. Saka just runs, and then what will happen is that a doggy has to sprint over there. By the time he gets there, Saka can either take him on, or one of our runners, could be Kai Havertz, it could be Trossard, it could be Sterling, it's basically got space to run in and goal. That's how we scored the first goal, where you had Ben Davies on Saka with the identical wall, because Ben Davies is inverting. He's had to rush out to Saka on the right. He hasn't got the pace, so he's on the back foot. Saka goes, shall I go down the left? Shall I go down the right? No, he cuts in where the guy's on his heels. Boom, has a free shot at goal. Now you're Arsenal top side, Liverpool top side, Man United, if they get their act together, or a top side. What I'm trying to say is these teams have players who can hurt you. You've got to respect them. You've got to respect them. You've got to show them more respect, because if you don't show respect, all the praise that Paul Merson gives you guys about how you play and how well you play, that's nothing. You played well, but you didn't win. You played well, you only got a point. You played well, but you haven't won a trophy. You played well, you haven't got the top 4. Who cares if you played well? I don't care. You guys have a go at Conte, but Conte will never allow that teams to hit you like that on a counter-attack. Mourinho will never let that happen. The Poch wouldn't even let it happen. This guy has to.
Do you think Ange Postecoglou is going to be successful at Spurs playing this way? Because, as you've said a number of times on this podcast so far, he will not change. He's said it a number of times. You know, journalists have said the same questions, asked him the same thing again and again and again, and he just looks at them now and says, "You know the answer."
No, you're not going to be successful, because simple reason is that the fact is you can't, when you have an inverted full backs, only one of them can invert. The other one's got to protect the flank. You can't play like that. I'm sorry, you can't. Don't get me wrong. You will. It's very exciting, and you'll beat most of the teams. You'll probably get into the Europa League, because of the fact the amount of goals scored. But it's risk and reward against the teams that could be your rivals for the top 4, or if you want to go higher and challenge for the title, they're teams who've got top players. Not only got top players, got top international players who played big games. All they have to do is in training, get a video of how you guys play. Look at how you try to win the ball high up the pitch. They'll make sure that they get rid of that ball. They may go long. They may pass it around some of your players. Either way, they know they can't afford to lose the ball high up the pitch because they know that you'll hurt them. But they know if they manage to pass away out of trouble, they've got a lot of space to run into. I just think it's suicide. I really think it's suicide. I think it's exciting, but I think a lot of your fans are going to sort of look at it and say, we're making the same mistakes. We're not learning from our mistakes. They are going to get fed up. And
I agree to a certain extent because last season everyone was excited. Marcus writes here, it's how that he has played at all of his teams. Yeah. Now, do you think that it is just because it is the Premier League and it is the best league in the world and it is so fast and we all say it, that slight little mistake, you cannot make a slight mistake in Premier League football, can you?
It's not the best league in the world. The Premier League is the most physical league in the world. It's the league where it sorts out the athletes from the plodders. You have to have pace to play in the Premier League. You have to have midfielders with pace who can press and then go from box to box at pace and sprint. People talk about defenders having pace and forwards having pace, and your inverted wingers having pace. No, every player's got to have pace because when you lose the ball, you've got to sprint and try and get and win it back. Because if you don't sprint and walk, attack is straight at goal. You know what I mean?
The thing is, Kenny, you're doubting Anthony's system now, but he's had that doubt from a lot of people, from a lot of fans, from a lot of his previous clubs, and he's proved them all wrong.
It's the Premiership, though, and that's the thing. The problem, and I say it respectfully, there's a lot of good teams in the Premiership with a lot of good players. A lot of good players. You think about Spurs remember the top 6. Well, every team in that top 6 have good players. They have good attacking players who can exploit any space that is afforded to them.
What do you expect Spurs to do this season?
What I expect Spurs to do is if Spurs play like that, they're definitely easily going to get in the top 5 and top 6 without a shadow of doubt. But that's not going to be enough. There's going to be a situation where you're going to go to Anfield, play like that, and you're going to get beaten pretty comfortably. You're going to go to Old Trafford. You're going to have a really good game where it'll be 4-3, but you may be on the end of a 4-3 defeat. And that's the thing. You're conceding goals as well, and that's what's going to stop you from going where you need to go. Because I don't know. I'm an Arsenal fan. I don't know. I'm not part of your psyche. I don't know whether your fans want the top 4 or where you want to win trophies. All I know is that one of your greatest ever players, Danny Blanchflower, has always had this motto: it's not about football's about the glory.
Yeah,
this is one of your greatest players. He won a double in 61. He won the FA Cup in 62. He won the first European trophy. An English club to win the first European trophy is you guys. He's about glory.
Kenny, I can tell you exactly what Spurs fans want. We want to be challenging for the Premier League, and we want to show that ambition to do so. But I do feel that there was a lot of work to do when Ange Postecoglou walked in the door. He's been here for 14 months or so. He's offloaded so many players. He's been very ruthless in that way. Spurs have changed a lot.
I applaud him for that.
Yeah,
I applaud him for that. But one thing he's got to learn: in the Premier League, you've got to learn quickly. You've got to be a quick learner.
Yeah,
and he's got to look at what happened. You think about your second half of the season. You think about it. You think about your second half of the season from April to May. You lost a lot of games.
Yeah, Well, let me give you this stat. Since that Chelsea game, so we were unbeaten in the first 10, as you know, sitting top of the Premier League, won 8, drawn 2. Now, the 11th game was Chelsea at home, which we lost 4-1. Now, including that game and up to the Newcastle game a couple of weeks back, we've played 31 games. We've won 13, we've lost 13, and we've drawn the other 5. So that is inconsistent. But
exactly.
If you were being realistic and balanced about it, is that acceptable for someone like Postecoglou coming in, changing all of this stuff at a football club, offloading so many players, bringing in a lot of players, of course, you know, lots of off-field troubles as well. Is that acceptable? Because what would you say is an acceptable season? Because I feel that a lot of Spurs fans said, you know, we've got to give this time, we've got to give this guy the time, the patience, the tools, etc., etc. But now we've started the second season, there has been so much negativity. 3 games in, so much negativity. 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat.
Right.
But bearing in mind all those chances we created, and we've signed a centre forward, like you've said, that we needed since Harry Kane left. Is that negativity? Is that fair?
Well, the thing is, it depends on whether you like the manager or not. Because you talk about the negativity. We have at Arsenal, there's straight talkers like me, Lee, Jace, you know, Matty, Northside. We're called a rat army. People think we're rats because we're critical of Arteta. You know, we're seen as people who are never satisfied. That if we can't see what Arteta does, we should go and support Tottenham. That they see us as treacherous. But there's some Arsenal fans who follow us and think, well, hang on here, it's about the bottom line. We're not winning trophies. That with the money that Arteta has been given, he has to win trophies. You're going to have that with people like Gary, who could be part of the Tottenham rat army, and maybe there's other people who are behind the scenes. But a majority of your fans just like Arsenal, majority of fans like Arteta. It's personal, so they're going to give him as much time as he will need. The same Spurs at Tottenham, people like Big Ange because of one thing: the way he talks, the way he carries himself, and the fact that he's promised attacking attractive football, and he's come with a crest or a wave, and you're not suspicious of him. Now, Mourinho, and Conte, they're already starting on the back foot because of the Chelsea connections. Yeah, they're winners, but they were at Chelsea. Your fans don't like Chelsea. You don't like West Ham. You hate us, but you don't like Chelsea as well. So you think, well, you've got this rivalry with Chelsea. Well, Chelsea have a rivalry with you. They probably hate you more. They probably hate you a lot, and you don't know why they hate you. But those managers started on the back foot. Plus, another reason why those managers start on the back foot is that they don't play the football that you would like.
I don't know whether I agree fully with that, Kenny, because when Jose Mourinho come in, for instance, you know, Pochettino was sacked. A lot of people were very, very upset about that decision because he had more than enough credit in the bank, in my opinion. You know, taking us to a Champions League final, didn't spend a penny in multiple transfer windows.
That defeated Bayern Munich. Come on, losing 7-2 at home at Bayern Munich, that's a sackable offence. Especially since I'll say it respectfully, since you were in the final the season before, it's sackable. That's a humiliation. The fact that you lost 7-2. And I'm not taking the mickey, I'm just saying it's the standards. As much as he's got credit in the bank, I think when you talk about managers having credit in the bank, I look at it this way.
In terms of not being backed in transfer windows, that's what I mean, Kenny. So, you know, when you're taking a team to a Champions League final and not spending money in multiple transfer windows, I don't think that will ever be done by a manager again in our lifetime.
No, of course not. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like the Poch. He scares me. The way you played under the Poch scares me.
Yeah.
There were the times when we played you that I knew we weren't going to win. But I think in terms of Poch, I'm not so much angry at Poch as a neutral. it's Levy that I've got no time for, because in fact, I look at the situation where, as I mentioned before, you had certain players were running an empty, certain players who were part of that brilliant side you had, who were basically, how do I say it, were coming to the end of their time, especially a couple of your defenders, where Poch knew this, he should have been given money, because look what he did with Walker. As much as Walker had a lot of pace, Walker was exactly the kind of fullback that I'm criticising with you lot. He's got his pace, but he leaves a lot of space. You actually rectified that with Trippier. And the Poch was given money to do that. The Poch should have been given money to actually have a situation where you have a bigger squad where players like Ali, players like Ericsson will be pushed. Another problem that you had under the Poch is just a simple thing. Your players weren't earning what I call top 4 salaries. That's one of the reasons why you lost some of your players, why you lost your Ericssons, and why, players like Rose were dissatisfied. That's where Levy did hurt as well. The players that were doing it for you, they weren't getting the financial rewards that some of the players were getting at an Arsenal, at a Man City or Chelsea, where you're a top club, you're regular in the Champions League. Your players have to be rewarded for that. Levy was very tight with the money. So in that respect, that's where he hurt the Poch. And unfortunately, results were a bit of a killer. I don't know, results were a bit of a killer. And I do think that defeat at Bayern Munich when you lost 7-2, I do think the writing was on the wall for the poor man.
The thing is, Kenny, I think that is a bit of a myth about Spurs don't spend money, because we're the 4th highest net spender.
What about player salaries, though? Player salaries. You think about the player, and that, because remember, it's well documented that Danny Rose, basically, you could never keep him quiet, but he kicked off about the salaries that you're getting. Yeah. I do think that is definitely a factor. But you talk about the players you get. I think when you talk about net spend, the money players clubs buy, I think when Man City and Chelsea previously have got it right, is that when they have bought players, they bought the right players, and those players will work. Sometimes when you spend so much money, sometimes these players don't work. We spent money, 72 million on Pepe. That didn't work out.
Yeah, the recruitment is very, very fair to say. Pre Postecoglou, the recruitment has been very poor. And like I said to you when we done that predictions episode a couple of weeks ago, I feel like Manchester United have wasted so much money under Ten Hag. Their recruitment, I feel, has been very poor. But I feel like Spurs have learnt a lesson there, and we have progressed, although it's probably not enough progression. What some Spurs fans want, because 3 games into a Premier League season, everyone's meant to still feel excited about the season starting, but there has been a lot of negativity in the last few weeks.
The reason why there's negativity is because of the fact that if you want to challenge for the title, you've lost ground already in 3 games. If you want to get the top 4, you haven't lost ground, but it's the way you've lost the games. The Leicester game has to be frustrating, because that first half was probably your best football that I've seen Spurs play for a good few years, since the Poch days. You're playing Poch, the Poch football. You were absolutely murdering Leicester, getting bodies forward, but you couldn't put the ball in there. No one would have complained if you were 3-0 up. But the second half, there was a bit of a kind of a nosedive in terms of levels of fitness. Leicester got back in the game, and then you're holding on. So fans are going to be upset. Fans are going to be critical of that, because you dominate a game. You've got to see that game out, and it's not because it's Leicester. It's because you're playing well. And then you've got the Everton game where you win. I didn't see the game, but from what you told me, Everton was so bad that you couldn't gauge anything from your performances. But Newcastle, a team that is a rival for the top 4, it's a game
they were there for the taking, though, Kenny. To be brutally honest, they weren't that great.
Yeah, and they had injuries as well.
Yeah,
you can see that. You can see what I consider to be a silly goal. You get yourself back in the game for the own goal, and then when you're dominating, you can't. You either your forwards are not making the right ones, or the right ball wasn't going in, and then it's the risk and rewards. Trying to win the ball high up on the pitch because you're playing well, because you're dominating the match. All of a sudden, You didn't win that. You didn't win the ball high up the pitch. You left so much space where it was just one pass. Remember when we did our predictions, I said you got to watch Joe Linton. It was Joe Linton hurt you.
Yeah.
You had to watch. You watched that. I said watch back the high line and watch about the way you like I said, you press but leave spaces. I said 2-1 in our predictions, and that's what happened. You gave Newcastle that game.
Kenny, I hate to blow your trumpet here, but on the Premier League predictions, you got 4 correct scores, 2 correct results, 24 points. That's the most of anyone that's ever come on this channel.
I knew it as well. I knew. I thought I fear it, and I knew it because I think I got lucky with a couple of ones. I got very lucky with the Crystal Palace Chelsea result, but I did feel that the Chelsea win at Wolves was a myth. It was a 6-2 myth. It was like, you know, when England beat Germany 5-1 under Sven-Göran Eriksson. You know, the great John Sitton, great football mind, should be in football right now. He calls that 5-1 a myth. That's what I called Chelsea's win at Molyneux, a myth, because when they played a team like Crystal Palace, the real Chelsea under the Clear Lake was there to see.
Well, annoyingly, you predicted Newcastle to win 2-1 as well. Kenny, when you look at the Spurs starting 11 and the Spurs squad, which players do you fear? Because this was the last time that we played against Newcastle. Vicario, Udogie, Romero, Dragushin, Oro, Basuma, Sarr, Son, Maddison, Odegaard, and Kulusevski. Of course, we have already said this on the podcast that we expect Dominic Solanke and Mickey van der Ven to be back in the starting 11. Who out of the Spurs squad, if everyone was fit and available, who in this Spurs team and squad would get in your starting 11?
Udogie, because he's actually a proper left back and he's better than what we got. I like Udogie. He's going to be a very good player for your football club. Keep him fit, give him a bit of protection as well, in terms of the way you play. I think he's going to be a fantastic player. Song, from what I've heard, that he's divided opinion with Spurs fans, because I think he's probably a yard of pace. I don't see it, but I bow to all your superior knowledge, because it's your club and you know much more about the players than I'll ever know. But me, it's always Song. I'm a massive fan of Song. I always have. When you talk about players who've hurt Arsenal over the years, Song's caused us just as much damage as Harry Kane. So I'll always have him in the squad. I'll always have admiration for him as a footballer, because he's just one of the top players in the Premiership. He clearly, and a player I've always rated, so I'll definitely take him aside. I like Maddison. I ain't gonna lie, I've always like Maddison, but I do think that it's his second season. This is where he's got to earn his corner. I think the first season he's been interrupted with injury, came back from injury, lost a bit of form, but this is a season where he's got to produce the goods. Solanke I like, because he's a striker. We ain't got a striker, so cool. So I would like Solanke. Obviously, my preference would have been Ivan Toney, but when you think about Solanke, he's finally got his act together, because he had some big move. He was at Chelsea in Downster, didn't really work out. He got his big move to Liverpool, didn't work out there. Bournemouth, he's managed to get his act together and he could push for England places. So there's kind of players a lot. But in terms of my priorities, it will be Udogie, and Son. Son scares me. I hate what he's done at our football club. He's one of the guys that put the sword under the pot. I'll never forget Son's goal in the lockdown derby, where you had 2,000 fans, where you went from one end of the. In fact, both your goals were.
I was one of them.
You so what did you do? Did you get in a lot? How did you get in? Did you you must be the luckiest man ever, because there must have been thousands upon thousands of fans going into
2,000 fans inside, and we all had to wear masks and all had to sit like 4 seats away from one another, and it was such a weird, a very, very weird evening at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But
at the end of the season, when they let 10,000 fans get in, did you get a ticket then?
What, for the Villa game?
Yeah, your 10,000. You know that season? Yeah, Villa game. Would you get into that game as well?
I was there, yeah.
I've got a story to tell you. I was in the ballot for both games and I didn't get a ticket.
How are you in the ballot? What? Not for the Spurs ones, for the Arsenal ones, yeah.
No, the lockdown. Now remember, we had lockdown games. Remember, we had Burnley at home, which we lost 1-0
yeah,
when
yeah,
Bangor scored an own goal, and then we had the 10,000 crowd at the Emirates for the Brighton game, last game of the season. I couldn't get a ticket, so it worked out for you, but it didn't work for me. But if you talk about those 2 goals, both of them were from the counter attack. Where Song scores that bloody hell. It was a cane pass. He just gets in, cuts in 30 yards, bang in the corner of the net, and then Harry Kane and Song just, basically scrambled their brains. And they scored a great goal. So for me, I've always been a great admirer of Song, and I think that he'll go down as one of your greatest ever players. I think when he's gone, you're going to miss him big time.
Absolutely,
trust me, you'll never get. In my opinion, you'll never get a Heung-min Song. Heung-min Song is one of. I tell you, treat him with kid gloves, mate. Treat him with cotton wool because you've got a great player there.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny, I know obviously you're a guest on here, so I'm going to ask you your favourite North London derby moments, and I'll close my ears for a few minutes.
You've been very generous because you didn't say moment, you said moments. I could be all day.
Should we move on?
You don't want me to be here all day, but I'm gonna one of the greatest games are obviously if you're an Arsenal fan, you talk about Rocastle, God bless his soul, 987 League Cup semi-final where Spurs beat us at Highbury. Clive Allen scored again against us, and then in the replay, Kyle Allen put Spurs 1-0 up, and then Viv Anderson and Niall Quinn scored, went to replay. Kyle Allen scored again, and then Ian Allison and Dave Rocastle, put through. Also, 1993, it was revenge for 91 because one of the worst days of my life was the semi-final in 91 where Gazza scored that free kick, and then Gary Lineker scored when David Seaman fumbled the ball twice. And we won the league that season. I was still so angry. I thought it's not because we didn't do a double. It's because we lost and how we lost. You guys battered us. I mean,
Kenny, have you ever seen a better free kick at Wembley Stadium?
Do you want to rub it in? No, I haven't. No, I haven't. And the thing about it, right, the guy was injured when he scored that free kick as well. He was injured when he scored that free kick. You know what I mean? I think that season, believe it or not, Arsenal fans were wanting to play Spurs in the final because we actually jumped up for joy in 91 when we knew we were getting in the semi-final because we wanted to beat you. We wanted to beat you. We wanted the North London semi-final because we've never seen it before. And we thought we would win because we were the best team in the country. I still think that team is second to Arsene Wenger's team in 2002 is the best Arsenal side. The 91 side is better than the Invincibles. The 2002 side of Arsene Wenger is better than the Invincibles. But that's another discussion I'm sure we would have. But 93, when Adams scores that free kick, it was revenge. It was revenge. I love it. And also the one I loved, another one that I love as well was Thierry Henry when we beat you 3-0 at the Emirates at Highbury when he scored that worldy goal. You just had to be there. I was sitting in the North Bank and it happened right behind me where you had the Spurs fans next year and both sets of fans were just going, he's not going to do it. No way. He's not going to score. And then he gets past David. He gets past I think he gets past Everington, barges him out of the way, and then Ledley King thinks he's going to shoot his right foot, but Ledley King goes that way. Henry just goes, nah, I'm going to cut him on my left foot, put the ball in there, and he runs all the way to your fans.
Kenny, what's the one or two moments where you've absolutely hated it and it's made you feel the most upset of a North London derby?
The 91 hurts, really hurt. But the one really, really, really annoyed me as well and really hurt me as well. it was 2010 because we had an outside chance of winning the title, and we hadn't lost a league game to you for 11 years. And then, you scored. Danny Rose. I mean, he couldn't score in an onion bag, but he scored one of the greatest North London goals you'll ever see. And then Gareth Bale scores, and then we had chance upon chance. Gomez was like your best player, saving headers and free kicks from Van Persie. And then we finally scored. It was too late. And then, obviously, I have to mention the 3-2 at the Emirates. To this day, we played out of our skins. It was the best we played half of football I've ever seen from Arsenal. Nasri was on form. I mean, and we went 2-0 up. You were at the game, and then Gareth Bale pulls a goal back, and I thought, oh no. And then when Fabregas handles the ball, Fabregas handles the ball, I thought 2-2. I still thought we were going to win it. But when Yunus Kabul put that ball in the net, I'll tell you now, I had, during the winter, I get eczema, but I managed to, control my eczema. For a week, I had eczema because of that defeat. I was so gutted. I didn't see it coming. I was so confident that we were going to beat you that day. But for Yunus Kabul, who's done nothing for you in his 2 spells at football club, the only thing he's done of any note was to score the winner in the North London derby at the Emirates Stadium. You hadn't beaten us for, was it 20... How many years ago? You hadn't beaten us for 27 years in an away game where the last time you beat us at Highbury is when it was before the semi-final when we played the kids.
93. Yeah.
United 3. And then he comes to our ground and he scores that winner. My eczema came up. I was so depressed. I didn't talk to my wife. I didn't talk to my kids. I didn't talk to my mum. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was so embarrassed because I really thought a win. That's the most hurtful one. But 91 takes a biscuit because of the way we were so confident. And then, Gaza and Gary Lineker that day. To this day, I've never forgiven Paul Gascoigne. Gary Lineker, I just think of all the games where Gavy Seaman had a mare, it had to be that game. It had to be that game.
These have been the best 2 minutes of the podcast. You talking about how upset you are about Tottenham beating Arsenal.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the North London derby. It is a game where you cannot afford. Yeah, John Hendry scored. Hendry scored one of the goals. Yeah. Teddy Sheringham got a couple of goals. I mean, Teddy Sheringham got one of them. And got our goal that day in '93. Paul Dickoff in off the post.
You rested so many players, though, didn't you? That night. I think it was on was it a Thursday evening before the final?
It was actually on the Wednesday, and then we had you in the semi-final 4 days later. We had rested players, but even no, that's no excuse. No excuse. You should come and do. You did the double overs that season because the game at White Lane, Paul Allen got the goal. A game where I was really annoyed, where Ian Wright gives David Howes a punch in the gob. Remember that game?
No, I think the game actually.
Go to chat and ask them about Ian Wright twatting David Howes. They'll remember that.
Yeah, no, I think that game that we won at Highbury, I'm sure it was on a Thursday night because you were playing Sheffield Wednesday. You had 2 finals against Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, well, that's right. Yeah, it was not. That's right. It was on a Thursday. Yeah, because we had the FA. I think it was the League Cup final in Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
And and then you beat us, and then that's when I thought, right, I really want to beat this team in the semi-final. Where, again, you were the favourites. Everyone had Jimmy Hill had you down as the favourites. Obviously, he wanted to keep his mate Terry Venables happy. But I remember whenever we played Spurs in the final. Remember the Evening Standard used to do like a double spread of like Arsenal, Tottenham, and then what will happen is that the 2 local papers, like the Islington Gazette and the Haringey Wood Green Advertiser, it was like both kind of reporters got together and they made it a North London derby kind of publication. So you got Spurs news on the eve of the Cup semi-finals in 91 and 93, and in the in the Wood Green Advertiser, which is a Spurs newspaper, you had the same sort of thing. But I didn't mention 2001 when it was Sol Campbell's last game.
You mentioned him again.
Sorry.
That's three times.
No, sorry. All right. It was his last game where you was it Gary Doherty put you 1-0 up, and then Vieira equalised pretty quickly, and then obviously Perez got the win. It was at Old Trafford, so I was at that game as well. But it was one of those games where I thought I was very confident, but it didn't give me as much pleasure as Revenge in '93 because, again, the humiliation of '91 and, really hurt. But 2010, yeah, that's bad. Eunice Kabul. Wherever you are, Eunice, I hate you.
Were you still in Wembley Stadium when Aubameyang his penalty was saved by Hugo Lloris?
Oh, I was at the game as well. Don't. I remember that because
you didn't leave early, did you?
No, I stayed to the end. Win, lose, or draw, I stayed to the end. I stayed to the end when you beat us 3-0 when you pipped us for the top 4 2 years ago. In a day, if you're an Arsenal fan, you take your medicine, you walk home, and you look forward to the next day. That's how you should do it. But yeah, Aubameyang in the semi-final where we went 1-0 up. Aaron Ramsey, we went, this is my pitch, this is my ground, and then you got a very dubious penalty. To this day, that was not a penalty. That was not a penalty. The one on Mustafi, that was one of the most generous penalties you got, Harry Kane, and we should have won it. I mean, of all, because you remember that season at the Emirates, Aubameyang put us 1-0 up with a penalty. Do you remember that one where he put in the same side? He put Lloris the wrong way at Wembley. He went to the same side. Lloris, saved it, but I'm sure he moved before the kick was taken anyway. They should have retaken that one anyway.
What about the Dele Alli goal at the Emirates a couple of years ago when we beat you in the League Cup?
Yeah. I was at both those games when Song again scored that goal and Dele Alli. I went, where's that? Well, from a footballing point of view, it's sad he's declined. It really is sad from a footballing point of view because think about he was an England stalwart in the 2018 World Cup, scored one of the goals against Sweden, and then his career's kind of nosedived. And I take no pleasure from that because it is sad because I really thought he was going to be like a mainstay for. I didn't care about whether he was a mainstay for you, but for England. As an England fan, which we both are England fans, I thought he would going to have a big career. I think he would have been surpassed Frank Lampard in terms of goals for England. So it's a shame. It's a shame.
Kenny, who do you think the Arsenal fans dislike more, Teddy Sheringham or Harry Kane?
Teddy Sheringham. He hates Arsenal. That I'm not gonna. I know you'll probably mutter to us. I'm not going to sing that song, but for that year, 1998 was brilliant. I was
going to say I was at a Teddy Sheringham evening, probably 6 months ago, and he told this story. You don't need to say the actual words, but you people will know what you mean. So
you know what? I'm not going to finish the song, but for that period, he left Spurs, went to Man United. Oh, Teddy, he went to Man United then. But the thing is, you sang it as well. Your fans sang it. Chelsea fans sang it. West Ham fans sang it. Every London team sang it. It wasn't just Arsenal fans. But Teddy Sheringham, I hate his guts. He's another one who causes damage, but not as much damage as Harry Kane. How can I hate Harry Kane? Harry Kane's Arsenal. Harry Kane owes his career to the coaching he had at Arsenal. How can I hate one of my own? He's not your boy. He's our boy.
Well, he's our leading goal scorer of all time. Well, fantastic.
Made in Arsenal. Don't forget that Harry Kane was an Arsenal junior and all their coaching. When we let him go, we let him go and basically said, right, go and help that team down the lane because they could do with the help.
I don't know. Kenny, lastly, score prediction. What are you going to go for? Let me go first. I'm going to go 3-2 Spurs. 3-2 Spurs. I think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game. But in order for us to score 3 goals against a very, very good defence, we've got to take our chances. We've got to be clinical, and I'm absolutely.
You will get chances. You will 100% get chances.
I'm betting on Dominic Solanke starting and getting his first goal in a Spurs shirt.
You got to score early. You got to score early because if you got to score early because if you let us kind of get into the game and let us get our shape and we become comfortable and then we take the risks, knowing full well that we'll have the players back, that's where we could win the game. I do think that we're going to make ourselves difficult to beat, and I do think that your defensive frailties will let you down again. Hence the fact that I'm going for a very exciting game, but I think we'll win 2-1. On the basis that your manager won't be able to resist playing that way, and I think your fans will want Big Ange to play that kind of attacking, full throttle football. You would demand it. Your fans demand it. They won't accept anything else. They'll want you to go at us. They'll look at our team sheet, look at the fact that we've got basically just party in midfield and thinking, right, Maddison, get on that ball. Sarr, bully Jorginho. Make sure Havertz don't get the ball. And then what you would do is that anytime Jorginho gets the ball high up the pitch, you're going to just be like a pack of wolves. That's how you're going to play against us. But you've got to make sure that you win that ball. Because if you don't win that ball, and we play around you, we've got a lot of space to run into. With or without Rice, with or without Odegaard, space is space. Pace is pace. We're on a goal. We won't miss. We won't miss. That's why if you're going to play that inspirational full throttle football, playing high up the pitch with inverted wingers, you've got to make sure you don't. When you hit, you don't miss. Because we will exploit it. You'll exploit it, and we will nick the spoils. You'll play the football. You'll play well, but we'll come away with smiling.
I certainly hope that isn't the case. I certainly hope that Spurs are clinical on Sunday afternoon. Kenny, you
have to be clinical. You won't win the game.
Yeah, absolutely right. You're always such a wonderful guest. Thank you so much for your time.
I love your show, Chris. You got to remember, right? Me and you have got a lot in common, including our birthplace.
Well, thank you so much. Where can people find you, Kenny, on social media? And are you still doing lots of YouTube as well?
I'm basically like a guest on YouTube channels. I don't have a YouTube channel, I'm afraid. I respect everything you do, Chris. I respect all the YouTubers because it's a very, very hard job. And I'll tell you one thing, you must have skin like a rhino because there's got to be a few pork chops who say things, out of all the things to you, try to put you down. But you know what I admire about you? You say, I'm there, you're there. And you keep going. So that's why I've got a lot of respect for what you guys do. Me, myself, couldn't do it. I'm I said, I ain't got a thick skin. I'll probably go, how dare you say I'll talk waffle? How dare you say I'll talk, S or C? I wouldn't be able to handle it. So that's why I definitely have respect for you guys. But if you really want to find me, all you've got to do is go to Instagram. I talk about everything. Tottenham, Arsenal's, as Gary says, I do the odd commentary. Not very well, but I try.
Well, what I say about that, Kenny, is if people don't like what you do, life's too short. You just move on.
You know what? You know what? Let me tell you something now. There are a lot of things that happen in this world where people, like I said, can go through the worst time of things. You've got to live your life to the full. And as I said before, you've taken a massive risk and it's rewarded you. You've got a lovely channel. I watch it, even though I'm an Arsenal fan. And I like seeing you on TV. I like seeing, hearing you. So, who knows? If I go to Australia, I know there's going to be a channel where they got Tottenham fan Chris Cowlin talking about Ange Pochettino. I'm sure I'll be able to find you. I can't get away from you. I just remember when the big Ange first came. I tell you were the most famous Tottenham fan in the world, mate. Everyone wanted to talk to you. That even you're more famous than Jamie O'Hara. Another ex-Arsenal.
Kenny, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening, and try and enjoy the North London derby on Sunday. We will see you on the next podcast. Until then, come on, you Spurs.